what is a better functionality to represent the cookies than having a search functionality, right? So I'm just going to implement the search in front of you, where I'm going to be using the recent searches, or displaying the recent searches to you, which is going to be fetched by the cookies that we are going to store on the client's PC, alright? So let me just show you how this is going to look like. So let me just go to a finished product here, log in. So once you log in, you're going to see that you have the search icon or button, and this is the recent. So I'm just going to search for any pizza that has the word lovers, and it's going to tell you that you have shrimp lovers and cheese lovers, right? And if I go to menu, then research again or search again, you're going to have this is the same result. And if you click on it, you're going to see that this is giving you the same result. Okay, so let's see how can you do that. Now, first thing I'm going to do is that when I log in, I just want to make sure that I don't really have this profile. I just want to be I don't want to have this profile here. I just want it to be like search, right? So let me just go to this one. So I'm just going to go to the navigation bar, and instead of this profile, I'm going to go as search and search.php. Okay, so I'm going to create in the project folder search.php, PHP port, HTML port. Now let me just copy stuff from, let's say, the login. I'm going to copy the JavaScript first. So there's going to be a form validation for the search as well, which is going to be really easy. And I will what did we do here? Yeah, I'm going to include the nav bar. So where's the nav bar? This is going to copy all of this actually. Okay, so I will need some styles for the search page, which is going to be essentially the same styles I use for the login. So let me just see the styles I've used for the login. Take it. Now add styles search.css. Close all of this. That's way too much. Then go to the search page again. Now I'm going to do everything inside a partial PHP file. I'm not going to start with it just to not confuse you, so I'm just going to go the old way. I'm going to write everything, every PHP inside here. Then after we finished, I'm going to send it or put it in a file that is called search.inc.php, dbconnect.php, and now we can start our validation. So let's see the form validation here in the search. I'm just going to call it search like that, search, right? So I'm just going to take all this and then create a JavaScript file. Alright, now this is wrong, so let me just, where was this one created? Alright, so it's JavaScript. Alright, so let's take all the code from the login, for example, and put it there. And now we are going to change this. Let's make the form first in our search page. So here I will say that I have an h1, which is search a pizza. I'm going to have a form. Alright, and I'm going to let all of the values flow to the same page that I am in. Posts, and then some inputs. So this is going to be the search field, so I'm just going to give it the name of search query or search queue, and I'm going to have a placeholder, so enter some keywords. Now I'm going to have my hidden field. I'm going to use JavaScript validation, so the same technique. I'm going to set the hidden input field that is going to indicate to PHP that the value is non-empty, so take it, grab it with the name of search queue. valid, right? And I'm going to have a division that is going to be having the error message from JavaScript that is going to be danger, like that, and it should have a paragraph like this, and we're set to go. Only thing left if this is the submit button, so I'm just going to say that this is have a value of search, and the name is going to be search as well. All right, and we are set to go. Now let's go to search, and here we are. All right, so let's see how can we do that. First of all, let's make this work first, the form validation for the search part. So I'm just going to grab the form. It should have an ID of validate. Now I will grab the input field of the search, which has the name of search queue. So this is going to be the search field. Now I'm going to have to grab the hidden value of it, which is called search valid. Right, and the same stuff from before. So this is search, and this is going to be search input field value. Alright, and it's only one input field that I have here. So this is search value. You cannot leave this search field empty. And this is the search valid, which is the hidden input field. And this is entirely it. That's it. So this should work. So let's go and try the validation. Refresh, and it works. Alright. Now let's talk about the back-end logic here. So I don't want this login anymore, so I'm just going to go to the search PHP, and this page I just want to make sure that the button is clicked using a set. So if is set, and if I discovered that there's something in the super global that is called post, if there is a key under, if there's some values inside this array, whenever you hit and submit, not submit, the name of the button, which is search, I'm sorry. So if this is clicked, if this button is clicked, first of all, make sure that the input fields are non-empty. So this check has been done by JavaScript. So if JavaScript has checked that the field is not empty, it's going to grab that hidden input field and set a value in it. So if the hidden input field did have a value in it, right, which the hidden input field is called the search queue valid. So if it did have a value, so non-empty. So this is the time to search in DB, right? So I'm going to prepare a variable. I'm just going to call this essential variables, and I'm going to name it search, and I'm going to set it as empty string. Alright, so time to search in DB, but first we are going to do a couple of things. So if it's not empty, we're going to go through this procedure. First of all, normalize the string, and by normalize I mean either make it lowercase or uppercase. It's this or that. Why are we saying this? Because for one simple reason. If you go to your database and in pizzas, you're going to see that there is, maybe I'm searching for shrimp in all lowercase, or maybe the user doesn't even care and he enters something like this. Maybe he doesn't seriously care and he enters something like shrimp, right? So he doesn't really bother about the lowercase or uppercase, but as developers we need to be the ones who take care of something like this, right? So he enters all caps. Maybe the database designer who designed this, remember when we were designing this, we didn't put in our consideration that before we store any title, before we take any title from the user in the add page. So if I went to the add page here, remember the title, we didn't make any validation on the caps, whether it's all upper caps or lower caps, right? We just made a validation on this should not contain any, you know, any numeric values. So it's only alphabets, no alphanumeric, no numeric values, right? And once we took that values, these values, we just inserted them to the database directly, right? We didn't do any kind of normalization. We didn't like store them or convert them to lowercase or uppercase before we store them. So this is something that we need to deal with now in the search functionality, right? So first of all, what I want to make sure of is that any user who is going to search, whether he enters shrimp like this or shrimp like this, I just want to make sure that this is going to be normalized to some sort of case, uppercase or lowercase. So I'm just going to choose lowercase. So I can use a function called str to lower, str to lower, right? And I'm going to send that search value, which is going to be found from the search queue, right? From the input field that has the name of search queue. So I'm just going to take that value. All right. I'm going to store this inside a variable that I've just recently declared on the top of the page. It's called search. So this is the first thing. The second thing is that I want to store a cookie of that search value in the user's machine. So to store a cookie in PHP, it's really easy. It's literally as set cookie. I think there is no underscore, so set cookie like this. And you start doing two things. You put two things mainly. The first one is what is the key? Like what is the key? It's a key value pair, right? So it is just a key value pair, right? So this is what a cookie is. So let's say that the key is going to be something called search value, right? This is something that you just need to remember because you are going to probably grab later on if you want to grab what was the recent search made. And what is the value? Basically the value that I've just took from the input field and stored in the variable search. So I'm just going to say that the which maybe is going to be something like shrimp in lowercase, since we lowercased it. So I'm just going to say that the key is going to be the key of the cookie. The cookie is just a key value pair. So this is just essentially what a cookie is. Okay, so search val, and I'm going to store search inside of it. All right. And optionally, you can add the duration that you would want this cookie to be available. Like for how many hours or days or seconds do you want this cookie to be available on the user's machine. So I want it to be available for a day, right? A day from the minute that he makes the search. So I want to get the current time, first of all. So I can get the current time via a function that is called time, which is built-in as well. And once I know the current time, I can add to it the number of seconds that a day have. So a day typically have, I think 86400. This is the number of seconds of a day, right? So this means that this is the key value pair or the cookie that is going to be stored for this duration. So the cookie is going to be available for 24 hours. Come in anytime this 24 hours and visit the site and go to the searches, and you're going to see that that was the recent search made on your machine. All right. All right, now let's continue. Now let's say that we are going to fetch all rows from DB, right? So I'm going to grab all rows. So I'm just going to prepare my query, select all from the table that is called pizza. All right. Now using my SQLi query, using that connection, go and send that query to the user. Once we send that query, we will have some results of, obviously, right? So we want to use my SQLi fetch all function to transform these results into associative arrays. So I think it's called fetch search. Let me just remember what was that argument. Yeah, it is MySQLi search. All right, and I'm going to store the results in rows. So this is going to be an array that has inside of it multiple associative arrays which are representing the rows inside the table, right? So now I want to search. I want to say grab the pizza title from every row, or in other words, associative array in the very big array that is called rows, right? And compare it to the search value we've taken from the input field. To do that, the easiest way to go is using a for each. So I'm just going to say, so for each row in the variable rows, for each row in rows, what I will do is the following. So I'm going to use a function that is called str contains, and if you remember the 3-hour session, we have used it before to check if there are numbers in the title of the pizza or not, right? So this is what I'm going to use here, and I want to see is the pattern that the user have entered in the search input field, which we have stored inside the variable that is called search, is it found anywhere in the row whenever you look at the column of title, right? So in any column that we have, in any row that we have currently inside this loop, under the column title, do we have this pattern that the user entered from the input field? Do you happen to find it inside that value from the under the column title inside that row? If yes, then this is going to be returning true, right? So if it's true, then this means it's found and there is a match, right? So we can display it to the user, right? Or we can just select these rows. But one thing that you need to take care of is that, remember that what I've just said like a couple of seconds ago, whenever we were adding pizzas, we didn't put any restriction, or we didn't add a logic to our insertion of pizzas that we need to normalize the pizza title before inserting. So all of the pizzas are just inserted the way that the user enters them, right? So if he enters a capital letter here or there, a capital letters here or there, anywhere, it's just going to be entered the same way. So I need to, whenever I grab the value under the title column, I need to normalize it. So I need to make it lowercase as well, so I can search on it. So I'm just going to use str to lower on the value that I've just grabbed from the database, right? So if there is something, if we found something, I'm just going to say that this is a found, this is a match, right? So we can actually, if we found that pattern inside that rows column of title, we need that row. This row is actually what we are looking for. So what I mean is that if the loop is going to go through all of these, right? So if the search input field was matching this, then this row is what I need. So I need to take all of this row. So I need to select this entire row. So I go somewhere else and I'm looking for the word lovers, for example, and I find this lovers here, right? So I'm just I need to have or append this row as well, right? So I'll need to append these associative arrays in a different array, right? In a different big array than the one that is here, than rows. So I'm just going to create an array that is called selected rows, and I'm going to initialize it as an empty array like that, all right? In Python, if there's a match, so we need to append the associative array, which is like Python, like a dictionary in Python, in the big array that is called selected rows that we've just created. In Python, you used to do something like this. You used to do something like selected rows, right? Then do dot append and append whatever you want to append inside that array, right? So from here you can append an associative array. For example, in my case, I want to append the row that I am at right now. I want to append it into that array, right? But in PHP, you don't have this append method. Okay, in PHP, if you want to append in an array, you can just use something like this. This is the notation for appending. Behold, all right? So you can do something like that, all right? I know that this looks weird, but this is how you append in PHP, all right? So this is an array that I've created before. In order to append anything inside of it, whether this thing that I'm appending inside this array is an associative array, another array, a variable, value, boolean, whatever. Bottom line, if you want to append, you use this notation here. So after the array's name, you put the square brackets like that. All right. So let's see where this loop ends. So this loop ends here, and this is the closing tag of the second if statement. So before the submission is done, I will do the following. I will have a variable called count, and I will use the count function to count whatever number of rows that has been returned. So whatever numbers of rows has been found to be matches, I'm just going to count them. I'm going to initialize that count there. So I'm just going to say that count is going to be initialized as 0, right? So if count was found to be greater than 0, then I'm just going to say that there is a boolean or a flag that is going to be called found. I'm going to set it to true. Else, if this was equal or less, not less, but is not greater than 0, so this found is going to be false. All right. Now in my code, I will do the following. All right. Let me just pause for a second. Yeah, I think I need to initialize found at the beginning. So I'm going to say that found is going to be an empty string. So I'm just going to initialize it like that. All right. Or you know what? Since I've declared or initialized found to be an empty string, so I'm just going to say that this found is going to be a string as well. Right? False, like that. Okay. Now let's go under the form here, and I'm going to have a PHP page, and I'm going to say if found to be having the value of true, we are going to display the results here. Display results. All right. Else, I'm just going to say that this is else if, right? So else if found was equal to not false, let's say that anything else, right? Oh, I'm sorry, if it equals to false, yeah, then we are going to tell him that there is no results at all for that. So I'm just going to have here an h2 that no results found. Okay. Now what if it was true? So we found something in the database, right? So the count was greater than 0, so the selected rows have there were selected rows, there were matches that we found that pattern inside of them. So what are we going to do in this case? In this case, I'm going to go to the card system. And if you didn't do the card system with me, then that's fine. You can go to the index page, which actually have just a table that we have used in the very first session. Let me just show you the session here. It's in themes. That there was a 2-hour session before the 3-hour session, if you remember. Okay, so there was a 3-hour. See, this was the 3-hour session. Okay. This had the CRUD operation, all of them. The create, the update, the delete. There was a 2-hour session, or I think it's 1-hour session. Yeah, just a 1-hour session that had the read operation, where we have created that index page that has the table. So just follow that if you want to know how we created that table. Right, it's really easier than the card system. If you did the card system, then go ahead and follow, and you're going to understand what I'm going to do. So, right, so I'm just going to take all of this code for the card system. Yeah, and I'm going to go to my search page under found, and I'm just going to say that this is card system. Okay, so what I will do, I already have my variable that is called count, which is basically going to be greater than 0 based on the selected rows, or equal 0. And if it was equal 0, then all of this if statement is not going to be happening in the first place, right? Since if it's equal 0, it's just going to be having found is false, then we're not going to be interacting with the count variable from the get-go, right? And for this to work, we need to have the styles for the card system. So if I go to menu, you're going to see that there is a styles for the card system, which is card styling here. So I'm just going to copy this and put it here. Where? Put it there. Now there are slight stuff that we need to modify. First of all, if I want the pizza name, I don't have the result as such, but I have the matches that I found, which is basically the selected results, selected rows, same thing here, selected rows and selected rows, and this is it. That's it. Let's hope that this works. So let me just go to the search page and enter shrimp, and here you have the shrimp one, but we don't really see the icon, so I think there is a font awesome link that is missing. So let me go to the index menu, and there's a font awesome. Is this the one? That's the font awesome, yeah. So I'm just going to have the font awesome and the Lato font from Google Fonts. Alright, so let's do this one more time, and it's broken. So let's go to Opera and hope that this works there. And it's broken too. So let me see what's wrong here. Alright, so the problem turns out to be in the style search. There was some class that I had for the icon tag, which is like ruining everything here. Right, that's why you're seeing that the icon is being pushed to the left. Right, that's why you're seeing the icon is pushed to the left and so on. So I'm just going to comment this out from the style search, and this should work. Alright, so this should work. Okay, and this is it. Right, maybe after the search bar we can add some margin bottom, but I don't really care about the CSS at this point. So yeah, maybe you'd want to see the last search result that you've made, right? To see it here, for example. So let me just do that. So let's just go to the search page, and in the echo of the form, in the value of the form, where's the form? That's the index. So here we can just echo the search value. So if I searched for lovers, and notice that I can put whatever cases that I want, is going to normalize it, make it smaller. Alright, and just search for all of the results here. Now let's use, and this is the value that we have just searched for. Now let's use the cookies. Alright, so the cookie that we have set, we can use it here. I'm just going to make a variable and call it recent with an empty string. Alright, and I can do the following. I can say that inside that recent variable I want to check the super global for cookies, which is cookie. I think there is an S, not sure, we're gonna see. Alright, so if there is a value in the cookie super global array under the key that we have just set to be search val whenever we use the set cookie function. So if there's a value, then set it into that recent variable. What if there wasn't a variable? And instead of doing an if statement, if it has, then put that value. If it doesn't, then put an empty string. We can use this. We can use something like this. So if it doesn't have, after these two question marks, we're just going to say empty string. Okay? So this operator is, by the way, called the null call scaling call sync operator. It is there in multiple languages, not only PHP. It's in C++ and C, I guess, right? So this is saying if I found that value, then set it to recent. If I didn't, then set that empty string. Now I want to see, let's just see that this is working. Okay, so let me just try to echo this first. So I'm just going to echo recent. So refresh, search. Well, nothing is happening, so I think I need to have this inside. Okay, yeah. So let's add this here. It's still not showing, so alright, so I don't think it doesn't work because of this, so I'm just going to have this after. So this is the brace, the curly brace of the button search. It doesn't need to be inside. That's just wrong. So I'm just going to put it outside. I think, yeah, it's not, there's no S here, so it's just cookie. So let me try this one more time. Refresh, go to search, and here you go. This is the last cookie. So let's display to the user, right? So I'm just going to say, instead of this echo, I'm going to say that before the search, where's the search input field? Yeah, before the forum here, I'm going to say that this is going to be an h1. Well, let's just make it, I don't know, an h2, all right. So let's say it's a recent search, or just recent. I'm going to have an anchor tag. I'm going to tell you why I'm using an anchor tag in just a minute. And I'm going to put some PHP there, and I'm going to say recent, all right. And we can say that it should have an NA if the user didn't search for anything. Okay. Well, let's just leave it an empty string. Leave it an empty string. All right. So let's refresh, and you should see this search here. Let me just try and use an h1, since I don't really want to give any styles to this guy. I don't want to give it a style to be in the middle. Yeah. So this is the recent was shrimp. Now we want to do the following. We want, whenever we click on the get here, right? I want to have the same result I usually have whenever I search for shrimp like this. So whenever I type shrimp and search, I want to see the same result when I click on this. Notice whenever you click on that, right? This is a get request. You are clicking, you are asking for that link. So let's say whenever I click on this, I make a get request. So let's say if I will make a get request, then why not just make a query string? So I'm just going to do something like this. So I'm just going to create my own query parameter that is going to be something like val, that I'm going to create right now on the spot. And this val is going to be having the value of shrimp, which was the cookie that I've just grabbed, right? So I grabbed that cookie from this line. Where is it? I grabbed that cookie from this line, right? Okay. So the value that I'm going to grab, I'm going to put it inside a query parameter in my get request that is going to be triggered whenever I click on this button. So if I'm clicking on this button, I will be redirected to the same page, right? To the same search.php page. So if I'm redirected to the same page, I can use that query parameter and grab that value and just use it the same way that I've used that value from the input field whenever I was searching. So it's the same mechanism, right? It's just the difference is how you're going to get the value from this get request from this link whenever you click on it, right? Which is different than how you get the value from the input field whenever you have a form and you have a button that you're submitting. Okay, that's the only difference here. All right. So what I will do is the following. I'm going to go to this link here, right? So this link is having this value by default. Now I'm going to go to make the itch reference to let that link, whenever I click on it, go to this destination, which is the sign up page, signup.php, which is the same page that I'm at, and so the search page, right? And just add a query string or a query parameter that is called val, that I just happen to choose it. You can make it value, whatever, val, right? And I'm going to set it equal to, let me echo now, I'm going to set it equal to the value inside that recent variable. All right, so let me just see if this works or not. All right, so let's go to menus and search, and let's click on this, and notice the URL now. All right, click. Now you have the value in the URL. Now we can grab it, we can fetch it from the URL, right? So let's see how can we do that. It's just as if you're fetching values from input fields using the post super global. The same way I'm fetching values from the get request using the super global get. And we've seen this in the 2-hour session or the 1-hour session that Fadi has recorded before the 3-hour one, right? So this is in the case that there is a get request, right? And the link is pressed. And this is in the case that a search is submitted using post, right? So I'm just going to say if is set. So if there was inside the get global, super global, under the query parameter that we have created, which we named as val, if there was a value, then how about we just echo it to see if there is something or not. So I'm just going to say val from URLs query parameter, right? And I'm going to have a dot like that. I'm just going to say get, and I'm going to add val here and just a br. This is to concatenate. Okay, and let's see. So let's go to menus and search shrimp, and you can see the value. Now let's search for something different. Let's say lovers. So go somewhere else, return back. So this is the recent. Now let's see that lovers is now, this is the recent search, right? So knowing that this is the value, I can take that value and store it inside search. Notice what this is the only thing different, right? So what happened in this, if this was a post and you are submitting using clicking the submit button, what we did is that we grabbed the value from the input field and stored it inside search, right? We are going to do the same exact stuff, right? But we are going to start from this portion, from step 3, right? Since we have already searched for the value from before. So notice that anything that's going to appear here has been searched for in this input field, and anything that has been searched for in this input field has been already normalized to lowercase. So I don't really need to lowercase this again. That's one. Secondly, I don't really need to store it in the cookie, since I am actually grabbing this from the current cookie. So I don't really need to grab the value that I'm grabbing from the URL from here inside a cookie, since this was coming from a cookie itself. So I can skip step 1 and step 2 and go directly to fetching everything from the database, right? So I just can go to this one here. Where does this end? I just want to see where does this if statement. This is the loop, right? So I just need all of this part. Okay, so it is technically all of this part. So I'm just going to take all of this like that and put it inside my get request, right? So let's just make sure that the closing tags are just matching here. So this is the closing of this else, and this is the if, and this is what? That's the get request. So I'm just going to store this inside search variable. All right, the search, and everything should be the same. Okay, so let's try that. Now search, click on lovers, and you have the same results, and even you have it populated here in this field. Now search for something like super. Search, and this is the super supreme that we have. Go to the search after some time. This is the recent, click on it, and you have it here. Okay.